Hey there, welcome to my channel LeeBeeBuilds. My name is Aaliyah, and today we are going to be doing a speed build of this house that I found on Pinterest, this one here, and I wanted to recreate it in The Sims for one reason and one reason only, because it has a diagonal out jutting from it, and I really just wanted to experiment with diagonal walls in The Sims. I tend to forget that that's even something you can do, like an entire room diagonal like that. Like I want to start doing that more and adding a little more shape to my build, not just being so square or straight 90-degree angles. I want to kind of experiment with the more angled rooms that go against what the rest of the build is shaped like. So that's where this idea came from. I literally went onto Pinterest and I think I looked up cube homes, but I saw this one and I was like, yes, this is exactly what I'm looking for. So I recreated it in The Sims, and I think the outside is pretty similar to what I end up creating. I think I did a pretty okay job. The biggest differences are that the lot in The Sims ends up being a lot bigger, so I end up making a little bit of a community space outside of it. But that's really the biggest difference. I think the windows are similar enough, and same with the doors. Like, yeah, they're not the exact same, but there's only so much you can do in a video game. But yeah. So yeah, this is that picture that I used as inspiration and basically copied it as much as I could in The Sims. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with this. I really liked that the picture had the wood touches to the build, because I'm really into that right now with everyone doing their eco lifestyle builds, and I've been so jealous that they have all these new like woods and very cool wallpapers. And so I did with what I had. I can't remember what pack these ones came from actually, but I don't know, they're really nice and I think they fit this build perfectly. And so and another thing for the outside is that the garage door, if you're watching this, let me know what you use for garage doors in The Sims. Like, obviously there's the city living garage doors that you can paint on, but they're not always the right vibe for the build. Like, I was looking for something more modern and sleek, so I used that succulent wall planter and I turned it around, and because I thought it looked a little bit like a garage door, like with the metal parts, I felt like it would be the parts that would like roll up. I don't know my vocab for garage doors, but I feel like that I get my point across. So that's what I used in this one, and I've used other things in the past, like wall dividers I think I've used before. But yeah, if there's anything you guys use, let me know. I'd be interested to find out. And I had to experiment a lot with the fences here at the front, because I didn't know what I wanted to do there, because it is a little different than what was in the picture, but I ended up going with that lattice type fence, and I think it worked pretty well for the front of the house and made it look a little less boring at the front, because there wasn't a window there at the front of the house in the picture, so I didn't put one. So I had to make it a little more interesting by putting a taller fence, but I didn't want it to just be a straight block, so I went the lattice fence. And here we are actually inside the build. So this build is a apartment building. It is 2 studio apartments. The top one is a loft style and this one's just a small studio. And so my idea here is that the people who live upstairs, they renovated their garage and main entrance area into a separate apartment, a studio apartment. And so that's what we're looking at now, is this studio apartment. And as for the style of this house, I went for a little bit of a modern feel to it, but also a homey feel, at least in this studio apartment. And I used the kitchen is Jungle Adventure, like the oven and the fridge and the countertops. Those are all Jungle Adventure, and then the stools are from the bowling stuff pack, I believe. Yeah, from bowling. And so I wanted to use the stove and fridge from Jungle Adventure, and then it just led into me using the countertops as well, because I figured they fit the vibe exactly how I want it. But I love those stove and fridge from Jungle Adventure. They're so pretty. I had no idea. I only just got the pack when it was on sale the other week, and oh wow, I didn't expect them to be that good. They're so sleek, and the color options are great. I love this gray. It's so nice. It's a little more interesting than the typical fridge that we would use. But yeah. So yeah, this apartment, the colors are pretty muted. I used the lighter blues and then the pinks, purples that I pulled from that picture that's on the wall. Don't really know what that's a landscape of, like how you would describe that, like hoodoos or something. Is that the right word? I don't know. I could be completely wrong. I don't live in an environment like that at all. I live in Southern Ontario, so Canada. But yeah, so this apartment is completely like it's its own space, and you could have your sim rented out for a roommate, and there's like a closet, there's a bathroom, there's a kitchen, and there's even a separate backyard space just for them. So this is definitely like a build that is easily shared with another sim that isn't a part of your household. But yeah. And also I just wanted to add that I end up moving this build that I'm building on. Right now we're in Newcrest, which was a mistake. I don't know why I started in Newcrest. I should have just immediately started in San Moschino. So I end up moving this lot to San Moschino because it really fit the vibe of the picture that I have. I think it fit a lot better. So I end up moving over to the City Living expansion pack, and that's just because of all the concrete that like the walkways and stuff had. So I felt it was weird if I like just put a concrete block in the middle of Newcrest. So I was like, why didn't I just start this in San Moschino? So I ended up moving to San Moschino, and in doing that, I ended up doing a little bit more of a community space in the backyard behind the studio apartment's backyard. And so there's like a basketball court and like those ground squares, those squares that your sim can go up to and paint on them. And then there's some selling tables, and there's some bikes out there too. It's just supposed to be like a community space that makes it feel like it's a part of the city and not just like a random apartment in the middle of the road. So that was kind of that idea there. And so we're already done with the studio apartment down there, and we're upstairs now into the main level of the second apartment, and this is the one with the angled room on it. And so the angled room is going to end up being the living room, and I think that gives it a little bit more of a separation from this kitchen and dining area that will be right next to it. And so I think it does give a good separation having that angled room, because I felt like if it was just going to be a straight square block, it wouldn't feel like the rooms had any separation at all. But with the little outjutting of it, it definitely makes it feel like the living room is a separate space, even though it's still open concept. And so I guess that is the benefit of having the angled rooms, and I would like to use them more in my builds. We'll see. It definitely needs a specific kind of build to use it. Actually, that's not even true. I don't know why I said that. That's so not true. You just have to be willing to try. And I am. I'm willing to try sometime. But yeah. And on these island living counters, I love them. I've watched people use them for so long, and now that I'm able to use them, I am so happy. I love them. They're so nice. They're so sleek and modern, and I like the color swatches that it comes with it. Like, you can have all white, you can have like black and white, you can have what I have, which is like a light wood with the white counters, and it looks so nice. And I kind of went with this similar vibe with the rest of the build. So I used that lighter wood tone throughout. So you can see like on the bottom of these chairs in the dining room, they're the light wood legs. And then you can see that also later on in the living room, I end up choosing a couch from Bowling Stuff that has the light wood legs and the white cushion. So I definitely keep the same vibe throughout this entire living space here. And I went with this, the light from City Living on the wall. I absolutely love it. I never use it, but I really should more. But it does take up a lot of space on the wall. It takes up like 3 tiles. I wish we were looking at it right now so I could tell you for sure, but it takes up like 3 tiles. And so I tend to not use it just because it takes up so much space. But when you have the space for it, it looks really nice, and it looked really nice in the dining space. And I ended up putting those City Living wall slats up as well, behind the dining room with the light fixture on the wall, because I didn't want it to just be the light because I felt like that would look a little boring. So I used those wall slats, and then I like raised up or lifted the light off the wall, and that gave it a little bit more of a dimension in that part, and kind of made it a little more interesting than just a dining space, because I feel like dining spaces can be difficult to furnish sometimes. And here we are in the living room. I didn't say earlier what couch I chose, but it took me so long to come to that decision. I edited out all that footage, but I ended up going through like 4 different couches, deleting them, moving them around, and it was a disaster. It took me forever to choose. And same with the couch, or not the couch, the chair, that red chair that's there. I wanted to use that red color, but I didn't particularly like that the legs were the dark brown, but I went with it anyways because I really liked the red color, because I thought it brought in the copper from the light in the dining room. And then there's like that little couch at the top of the stairs next to the bicycle. That couch, I felt like those red and pinks like all coming together was like really nice. And so yeah, that's kind of where my thinking was with the living room. And I really like the kitchen. It's like, I think it's my dream kitchen, if I'm being honest. It's beautiful. I didn't clutter it too much. I love to clutter kitchens, but I really didn't want to put too much because I want it to be modern and open and very, like, not minimalistic, but pretty much minimalistic. Like, I wanted to keep as much, like, off the counters as possible, but I didn't want it to look boring, so I kind of went with, like, a little bit of a middle ground where there's some stuff but not too much, because I feel like it's easier to clutter a lot if it's, like, a family home. But if it's, like, a single sim or a couple that's living in the city, I feel like they're not going to have, like, a bunch of kids stuff cluttered on the counter or backpacks and things just laid around. Like, I felt like this just wasn't that kind of build to make it really cluttered. And, let's see. Oh, yeah, there are a lot of skill building items in this house as well. So theoretically, your sim doesn't necessarily need to go anywhere to get anything done, because there is a chess table to build the logic skill. There's some music skill there's 2 guitars and a piano. Yeah, the piano is just right there. There's also just like 2 stereos. There's one upstairs on the rooftop patio, and there's one just right there next to the piano, and so you can get your dancing skill from that. There's also gonna be a PlayStation next to this TV a little later on, so there's the video game skill that isn't just on the computer or on the sim phones. And what else? There's gardening in the backyard in the lower studio. So there's a few planters that your Sims can start a garden there. There's painting. There's like an easel as well as the floor painting areas. There's also just a computer which has a bunch of skills attached to it, like writing or whatever else. What else is there? There's some fitness skill stuff. So there's a punching bag, and there's going to be a basketball court in the community area. That may be all. Yeah, other than like the cooking skill from the kitchens, that's really it. But that's a big list of skills that sometimes I only put just an easel in my builds. So having that many skills that a sim or is able to make in one build that's a lot. So here we are. Actually, we're upstairs in the loft now. And so this space could have easily been like a 3-bedroom apartment with the upstairs up here, but I wanted to do a loft. So my 2 goals was to do a room with a loft and to have a diagonal room. So I hit both of them in this build. And so I really wanted to do the loft. So it ends up just being the bathroom, the little office nook, and the bedroom that is all open except for the bathroom. The bathroom's not open, but the bedroom and the office is open to the kitchen, living room, and dining room space below. And so I was really happy with how it turned out. I think the layout was pretty good because the bathroom is really easily accessible from getting up the ladder, but it's also accessible to when your sim wakes up in the middle of the night and they have to go to the washroom really, really bad. The only thing about this build is because of all the ladders going upstairs, this is definitely no space for a toddler. You could put in a staircase if you wanted to allow them up into the loft space, but as of right now, it is not meant for a toddler. So this sim living here is probably not going to be one that wants a family. They're going to be one that just wants to live in the city, work on their career, have some friends, maybe get married, but that's about it. Like, their idea isn't to have a family in terms of children. They just want to have a family with themselves, maybe a pet, or because the pet doesn't necessarily need to go upstairs. They obviously can't climb the ladder, but they can stay on the main level, on the couch. But yeah, I don't have cats and dogs anyways, so I didn't set that up in here at all. But that's more my thinking for this build, is that it's just like a single or a couple that just is comfortable with their life without children, and that's totally valid. You don't need children to be a family. You don't need that at all. Like, it's such a stereotype is not a word. Okay, you know what? I'm not gonna get into this, but it is a stereotype that the family needs children. But anyways, here we are in the office space, and I really wanted this to have more of a vibe of a loft than a modern build. So I felt like those items kind of looked a little more loft-like, and I think they fit the vibe of what I was looking for really well. And I really like this apartment. I would love to live in it. It's so beautiful, it's so open, it's so huge. The only issue is that I personally wouldn't want to walk up ladders to get to bed, but in The Sims, why not make them suffer? That's all about this game, isn't it? And they even have there's a little closet. I put masculine and feminine clothing in the closet, so it is very open to whoever your sim is and whether or not they are living with someone else or that's just their style. They're all about wearing whatever the heck they want. And I went crazy with the posts inside too, because at first I wasn't even going to put posts, but then I realized that for realism I need a post to hold up the ceiling. So there are posts on the loft, just on the corners of the fences, and then downstairs there's more posts in the living room and dining room area to kind of block off the space between the living room and the dining. But anyways, here we are up on the rooftop deck now. This was not a part of the inspiration photo at all. I added that little level with the enclosure for the ladder that goes up to the roof, because as you can see in this photo, there isn't something on the roof. although I guess you technically can't see the roof from this angle, but that was kind of my idea with this roof, is that most of the things up here are short enough to hide behind those half walls. The only things that are taller are that enclosure that your Sims will climb up the ladder to get up to, as well as I make a, what's the word? Pergola. I make a pergola off of the enclosure to give a little more privacy and maybe keeping the sun off the Sims sitting on the patio up top. And so yeah, as you can see, I am actually making that right now. And so because I wanted it to be like a little bit, I didn't want it to be super obvious that there's stuff going on the roof from the road. I didn't end up putting any like greenery on top of the pergola, because that's definitely like a trend people do, is they put like the low-lying grass and flowers just on top of the pergola to make it more green. But this is not an eco home. That's not the intention of this house. So I did not end up doing that, and it helps keep it a little less obvious from the street. And so yeah, that's just kind of what I did there. And if you notice here, I actually do end up, there's a space or there's a line from the pergola missing. But don't worry, I ended up going back and when I was taking screenshots, and I noticed a few things that were a little off. There were some things that got messed up in the move from Newcrest to San Moschino, and so because I didn't have BB.move objects on. So there were some pictures I need to put up on the wall that were in the studio apartment down below. And then when I came up here, I noticed that there was a missing part to the pergola, so I just fixed that. So everything should be fixed when it is uploaded onto the gallery, and when this video comes out, everything should be fixed. If it's not all fixed, then that's just something I never noticed. Sorry. But yeah, this should all be usable. I did have a Sim come in and go enter in up to the upper lofts, because there was an angled wall with the doorway that heads to the stairwell, and I wasn't sure if it was wide enough for a Sim to pass by, and it is. The Sim was able to go upstairs, so it should be playable, because it was playable for me. So if it doesn't work for you, if you download this, I apologize. I don't really know what to say to that, because it worked for me. And oh yeah, speaking of skills, I mentioned earlier that there was a bunch of skills. I totally forgot that there was also juice pong up on the roof. So I haven't put it in yet in this footage, but there does end up being juice pong. So there's just another skill for your Sims to do if they have people over. Juice pong. So yeah, I wasn't planning on because I use the Discover University windows, I figured, hey, why not? I may as well use like the Discover University like ping pong table, just because like I was already using the pack. So I threw that up on the roof. It was a fun activity to put up there. And yeah, so what we're looking at now is actually the studio apartment's backyard area. And there's a little cooking area, a little seating area at a picnic table, sorry. There's gonna be like little lounges and little garden area. But the one thing I wanted to point out was that the gates, or the fences, sorry, those end up changing later on, because I wanted to end up using hedges for separation from the park area with the basketball net from the backyard, because thought it was going to be a little weird if you had your backyard just like with no privacy looking onto a basketball net. Like, it's just not the vibe I wanted for this build. I wanted it to be like a nice, pretty build that your Sim would actually like be comfortable and have a little bit of privacy in. I also ended up putting one of those holiday boxes just in that stairwell there, because I always find it like frustrating when I start playing and I'm like, oh, I forgot the holiday box and it's Winterfest, so I gotta buy it now. But it's already there, so as long as you have seasons, that it's already there, ready for you to go for your first sim holiday. And another way that I kind of tried to blend it in with the whole San Moschino background was I used those little tree planters, the ones with the metal around them, just on the right side of the screen there. I used those because I felt like they really gave off that city vibe that I wanted. And there's some other trees on the other side of the building. I'm not sure if I had put them in yet in this footage. But they're there, and so there is some greenery to this build, but I felt like it was still fitting for the city vibes of the world, because I find that cities don't tend to have huge trees. They tend to have smaller, thinner, like, trees, just like those ones on the right side, and you'll see later on the left side of the building. They're not there yet, but the footage is not in here, so they'll just kind of appear. But there is still going to be a tree here in this backyard. It's not a huge one. It's just big enough to like give a little more something to the backyard to kind of cover up the plainness to the back of the house a little bit, because I find it kind of hard to do the back of builds, because clearly I did the front by copying a picture, but the back of this build, in modern anyways, I'm talking about modern builds, I was struggling a little bit because I was like, I can't just like spam it with windows because then it would look weird. But yeah, I really like this backyard. That's all I wanted to say. It's really nice. I like the little lights hanging from it, and there's like little garden areas. Honestly, this would be a really realistic garden that I would love to have in my like house. Not that I own a house, but once I own a house, that this would be great, just having a little lounge area to read on, and then also having the little planters for my garden. I really want a garden, but I live in an apartment with no backyard and no balcony, so I don't have that. I just have my indoor plants. But yeah, here we are. Oh yeah, as you can see, I did just put down the selling tables and the walls to sell your paintings on. And I thought that was just a great idea, because if you're in this build and you're a painter or something like that, then you can sell your stuff just on the street and you can start a yard sale. And so I gave that as an opportunity for income, I guess. And I definitely, like, because I put so much effort into the upstairs patio, rooftop patio, I wanted to still put some effort into this patio, so I ended up making it just like a cute little garden and colorful and comfy area that people would just like love to hang out in, because there's so many different spaces. There's like the couch with the 2 chairs that you can hang out in, but there's also the dining table where you can eat some veggie dogs or something. And so yeah, that's basically all with this build. So we're going to be coming up onto the screenshots soon, so I just want to say thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe if you haven't, and I guess I'll see you guys next time. So yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.